If you're like me, you probably log into Crunchyroll or Funimation just about every day to see what they have going on. And if you're also like me, you've probably noticed a certain anime being shoved down your throat harder than that time Gohan punched Cell in the face. Yes, I'm talking about Promised Neverland. It's been fighting for the top spot on both platforms for a while now, but honestly, from the title and the description and the thumbnail, I thought it sounded kinda dumb. So naturally, I didn't watch it until I was done with everything else I was interested in, but I'm really glad that I did. Anyway, hi, I'm Mike. I have a Sonic tattoo my girlfriend hates, and people say I look good in hats. YouTube is my job, and I have difficulty conversing with the general populace because I have strange tastes. When The Promised Neverland popped into my feed, my initial reaction was, cool, here we go, another anime for Hot Topic to latch onto and sell a bunch of cringy merch and overexpensive teacups. Honestly, they'll probably still do that, but despite my jaded and stubborn self, I gave it a watch because I'm maturing as a person, okay? I'm learning that just because a lot of people like something doesn't instantly mean that it's crap. Just 99% of the time, and if you wear a band's t-shirt to their concert, you're still a dork. I hate you people. Regardless, I was once again surprised and delighted that I made the correct decision despite myself, because The Promised Neverland is good. It's pretty damn good. Here's why. So here's the deal, this show is new, so we aren't going to spoil anything that isn't in the first episode. Hopefully this will serve as a why you should watch, while also giving some good analysis to the current viewers and readers of the manga. Speaking of which, we are not going to be going into manga a ton on Bonsai Pop. If it's pertinent to a subject, of course we're gonna cover what's necessary, but we're here to talk about anime specifically, which is ostensibly its own thing. That being said, like most anime, The Promised Neverland started as a manga, in Weekly Shonen Jump specifically. The story was written by a man named Kaiju Shirai, and it was his first work to be published. Much like the devs of the first Final Fantasy, The Promised Neverland arrived in our laps as a last-ditch effort by a creator. He was really at the end of his rope and feeling like he was never going to make it. Feels, man. After meeting with the highly skilled mangaka named Posca Demizu, the pair fell in love with each other's work, and The Promised Neverland was born. It worked out! The manga was huge, and now so is the anime. Award nominated even. And there's good reason for that. It also doesn't hurt that the series is being directed by the prolific Mamoru Kanabe, the man behind such works as Ninja Ryukiden and Elfen Lied. And yes, I pronounce it that way. Basically, the story has been set up for success since its inception. But one of the things that I love about anime so much is how prolific it can be. Even at the top slot, which is generally a place designated for crap with the widest appeal. But The Promised Neverland isn't for everyone. It mixes fantasy, sci-fi, and horror into a story revolving around children that you would never expect. Especially not from its lackluster cover art or descriptions on streaming sites. It always impresses and surprises me how willing anime is to delve into adult concepts and imagery, and how popular that can become. I've always thought of the genre as punk rock cartoons. Anime breaks all the rules and conventions that we have about animation in the West, and it's all the more beautiful for it. But for now, let's get into The Promised Neverland. To introduce the story, let's hand it over to Ryan for a sec to give his reaction.
He's Ryan, the white boy at the club.
It wasn't on Netflix, so I couldn't watch it.
Insightful, thank you. As the show begins, we're greeted with three young children standing at a gate along the edge of a forest. They're looking into a dark, foreboding tunnel, wondering what's on the other side. Instantly, their unique personalities are thrust on display. Emma, a little redhead girl, is bubbly but intensely excited about the possibilities of what lies beyond. Norman is quiet and contemplative, curious but unsure, and Ray is clearly curious enough to be there, but ultimately he's skeptical, already showing thoughts beyond his years. He screams caution and calculation. The ominous scene ends with an air of foreshadowing. There's a time skip after the intro sequence revealing the now 11-year-old kids enjoying a peaceful life in an orphanage with other children and their house mom, Isabella. Everything is pristine, everyone is happy. Isabella is the perfect caretaker. The children eat, sleep, and play together every day in their immaculate bubble. The orphanage resides in the middle of a hilly knoll surrounded by a tranquil forest. Gross. Honestly, when I started watching, I was kind of losing interest around this time. However, the gate stuck in my mind. Without noticing, I wanted to know what was behind it as bad as Emma did. Not only that, but there was a clear and evident stain on the perfect image of the character's environment. Serial numbers permanently marked on the children's necks, all of them regardless of age, which doesn't go beyond 11 by the way, had numbers marking them for something. This use of the gate and the serial numbers allows the show to introduce its characters and environment while allowing you to stay invested. There's clearly a mystery here. We quickly learn that none of the children have ever gone beyond the gate, except for those who are adopted. Immediately, a certain claustrophobia creeps in. As a kid, I know I needed to explore, so much so that my parents got me my very own leash. As you grow, you need to have larger environments to venture into as the world opens up more and more to you as you mature. It's a natural progression. Oddly enough though, none of the adopted kids write, ever. Not one. You think that children who live their entire lives with a handful of others would never forget their fellow orphans, their family, their close family, who spent every day with them growing up. It's about this time it becomes obvious the secret being kept beyond the gate is not a good one. The kids are also tested and scored within the orphanage as well, something that could be considered innocent, kids have to learn, but coupled with the serial numbers on their necks, it comes off as more of a dystopian communist youth intelligence selection process than a simple application of knowledge. In fact, our main characters aren't exactly normal either. All three of them are top in their testing and have various attributes which supersede their physical age. Emma is incredibly athletic, Norman is by far the brightest, a chess master character, beautiful mind type, quiet and perceptive. And Ray is watchful. Less apt than Norman, but his eyes show an awareness the other two have yet to develop. And then there's Connie, one of the younger kids at the orphanage. She's sweet and attached to her stuffed bunny and is the embodiment of innocence. She's doted on by Dawn, who clearly has that Japanese sister complex thing going on, but she's being adopted. The first episode is her last day. After tearful goodbyes, it's discovered that Connie forgot her beloved Usagi. Knowing that she'd be crushed without it, Emma and Norman decide to break the rules and attempt to deliver it to her before she's sent away beyond the gate. The pair race to the edge of their world and find the gate open. With nobody around, they step into the unknown, only to find Connie's lifeless body thrown haphazardly into the back of a truck, with a vita, a flower that extends the shelf life of meat by sucking the blood out of it, growing from her chest. The red color comes from the blood. They quickly hide as inhuman, monstrous creatures emerge and begin an exposition regarding their plans for Connie and the rest of the orphans. Isabella joins them, revealing her true allegiance. In one 25-minute episode, the tone, environment, and message of The Promised Neverland is set with such an acute accuracy you could cut yourself on it. This is an allegory of the loss of innocence, something we all deal with at one point or another. It could be tragic or it could be magical, but it will be taken from you one day. When we were children, regardless of our intelligence, we had a certain ignorance about us that kept the magic in our hearts. They say it's bliss, but as you age, they say it's stupidity. You have to grow up, you have to take responsibility. No one is going to take care of you forever. One day, we're all eventually thrown to the wolves to defend ourselves and those that we care about. Some of us in more dramatic ways than others. I was 9 years old and living in Massachusetts when the trade towers fell. As I watched people tumbling hundreds of stories, being blown like ragdolls in the wind on TV, listened to my friends crying for their parents' safety who work there, I think something changed inside of me. I started paying attention to the news, to what our country does, to what our leaders say. It changed my life. It changed how I thought. Later, I left my house when I was 17 with a suitcase and a guitar, thinking that I was going to be able to make it in the world during the worst economic crisis our country has had since the Great Depression. Loss of innocence can be a slow burn. Sometimes we learn the hardest way, but in the end, we all learn that we have to fight. In The Promised Neverland, we see the beauty of innocence. Though in captivity, the children are free from worry, allowed to be as happy as possible despite the fate that awaits them. But as the walls begin to break down between perceived truth and grim reality, we must witness firsthand what it's like to slowly lose belief. Belief and ideas are two very different things, the former being far more unflappable. Millions of people have died in the name of belief. To have that foundation shaken or worse, ripped from you is a powerful, life-altering experience. Something that is plainly written on Emma and Norman's faces as they watch their world shatter in front of them. We have to fight to survive, to play the game of society, a game we never asked for. A game we were thrust into without knowing the rules. One we're forced to scramble our way through during the prime of our lives. We live to work, and we work to live. No matter what you're doing, that's what it all comes down to. The people who raised you, the ones that you thought were invincible heroes that would keep you safe no matter what, were always just as flawed and scared and hopeless as you. We're not safe. We were never safe. We just thought we were. The world, nature, life is unforgiving and dangerous. Yet we persist, driven by instinct, to make it through. The Promised Neverland is all of this thrown into your eyes and ears and centered around characters you can't help but worry about because they're children. And we remember what it was like when we lost our security. The gate is a perfect metaphor. It stood as a barrier between peace and truth, but the secrets that lay beyond peace are far too tempting. The human mind hungers for knowledge. We all desire to learn in one way or another, but knowledge is a double-edged sword. With enlightenment comes great sorrow. Consider it growing pains. It isn't until we fully mature and find our own way in things, our own trails to blaze, that we're able to break through and heal from the realization that life is truly unfair. So is knowledge a good thing? That's really the question, and one that will be undoubtedly answered in this series. Mostly, I hope I enticed you to give it a watch. I love these kinds of shenanigans, the stuff that really makes you think. Gets you in that introspective mood, but also keeps you entertained as the story unravels. Personally, I love to learn, even if it means finding truths that hurt to know. And hopefully you do too, because we're gonna be talking about them. So what did you think of The Promised Neverland so far? Did you read the manga? Or are you going to check it all out now? Let me know what you thought, and if you liked this video, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. And if you didn't like this video, don't do that. Bonsai Pop is 100% anime 100% of the time, and if that's for you, then we hope you stay. On a personal note, the team and I have been absolutely overjoyed with the response that we got from the launch. Thank you guys so much for all the subscribers and the nice comments and being cool to me. I know I'm a new face. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. We're hoping that things only go upwards from here. We want to cultivate an audience that is dedicated to the content so we can make it for them, by us. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. My name is Mike, and we will see you next Saturday on another episode of Bonsai Pop. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Mike, and I'll see you next time. Later.